May I proceed, Your Honor? Okay. Mr. Hart, you're not offering an opinion today on who is responsible for the damage at the home, are you?
Well, it seems to be pretty obvious that it was constructed improperly that has caused these problems. So I'm assuming that the builders are the ones that are responsible.
You weren't on site when the home was built, were you?
I was not.
You didn't see anyone build the home?
I did not.
So you can't offer an opinion on who actually built this property, can you?
No.
You haven't interviewed Versailles, correct?
No.
You haven't interviewed the El Shamis, have you?
No.
You've only interviewed your clients, the Zitouns, correct?
Yes.
Well, have you interviewed your clients, the Zitouns?
I have asked the Zitouns who did what and listened to what they said.
Okay, so you've talked to the Zitouns and you've talked to their lawyers, right?
Yes.
And other than that, you haven't spoken with anyone else about the property, true?
I talked to Tom Witherspoon about the property, and I talked to a builder that was building a property next door.
Okay, so you talked to another expert in this case and a builder next door. Anyone else you've spoken to about this property?
Not that I recall.
You testified earlier that you went to the city, right?
Yes.
You didn't speak to any of the employees at the city who actually reviewed these plans, did you?
No.
You didn't talk to anyone at the city who issued the first master permit, did you?
No.
You didn't speak to anyone at the city who approved and issued the subsequent permits, did you?
No.
You didn't speak to any of the inspectors employed by the city of Dallas who inspected this property during the construction, did you?
No.
You didn't speak with the inspectors hired by Prosperity Bank who inspected the property through its construction, did you?
No.
You didn't speak with the engineering firm hired by Versailles, did you?
No.
You didn't speak to any subcontractors who helped construct the property, did you?
No.
You didn't inspect the property when the Zitouns first moved in, did you?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so all you've done is talk to the Zitouns and people on that side of the case, correct?
Yes, and look at the property myself.
And you spoke to the lawyers a lot, true?
Yes.
Speaking of the Zitouns' lawyers, would it surprise you if their lawyers are seeking to recover attorney's fees for 58 different email conversations they had with you?
I have no idea about that.
Would that surprise you if you've had 58 email conversations with the Zitouns' lawyers that they're seeking to recover fees for?
I don't know their arrangements with the Zitouns. I don't dispute that there would be at least 58 emails.
And those weren't in your work file in this case, were they?
Any emails that I took, I tried to include in my file.
Was there a single email in your file that was produced to us in this case?
I don't know.
And the documents that you looked at regarding this property, those were only the documents that were given to you by your clients or their lawyers, correct?
No.
Okay, what other documents did you, where else did you get documents then?
I listed the various documents that I looked at that are construction related documents pertaining to building codes and proper ways of doing construction.
I'm not talking about third-party things. I'm talking about documents related to this property specifically. The documents that you looked at in regard to this property specifically are documents that you only obtained either from the Zitouns or from their counsel, correct?
No, I went down to the Dallas City Hall and obtained a copy of the permit file myself.
Okay, other than the permit file, is there anything else that you reviewed other than what was provided to you by the Zitouns and their lawyers?
I don't think so.
And is the permit file that you obtained any different from the permit file that we've been looking at during this trial?
I don't think so.
You saw Exhibit 117 in this case, which is a set of documents that has a drainage plan on the first page, correct?
It had drainage arrows on it. I wouldn't.
Oh, it said drainage plan on the bottom right-hand corner, correct?
Okay.
Do you disagree with that?
I don't have it in front of me.
Okay,
I can look at it and see.
You have it in front of you, look at it. In the meantime, I'm trying to pull it up as well.
Yes, it does say drainage plan.
Okay, so you saw the document, the first page of Exhibit 117 marked drainage plan, correct?
Yes,
And in looking at the plans that are attached to Exhibit 117, you don't know whether or not those are the final plans or whether they were just one set of approved plans, do you?
I don't know whether they were approved because they don't have any city stamp on them.
Well, what about the first page? First page has a city stamp, doesn't it?
First page has a city stamp, but the city's practice is to stamp every single page.
Okay. And my question though, Mr. Hart, is do you know whether or not, let's just talk about the first page. We won't worry about the others. The first page that you know has a stamp. Do you know whether or not that was the final plan or simply one approved plan?
I do not know.
Isn't it true, Mr. Hart, that typically the current approved plans are kept on site physically during the construction of a new home?
Yes,
And they're kept in a big tube that's got to be on site at all times, right?
well, it doesn't specify how it's to be kept, just that it's supposed to be on site.
Okay, so you've got to have plans on site at all times when you're constructing a new home, correct?
Yes,
And isn't it true that at the point in time the plans are revised, the builder should put the new plans on site and get rid of the old ones?
I don't ever get rid of the old plans because someone might change their mind.
Let me rephrase my question. Isn't it true that a builder should always keep the new approved plans on site? And I'm not saying destroy the old plans, but take them off site to be stored elsewhere.
I always keep all of the plans on site in case the inspector has a question.
Okay, so at a minimum, you would say the current plans should always be kept on site, true?
Yes,
Have you constructed a new home yourself in the city of Dallas?
yes.
Okay, how many times have you done that?
I don't recall.
More than 5, less than 5?
Probably less than 5.
Okay, so you've constructed somewhere between 1 and 5 brand new builds in the city of Dallas, is that correct?
Yes.
How many times were you on site when a city of Dallas inspector came to one of the properties you were building in the city of Dallas?
I try to be there every time.
About how many would that be over the course of your career during this 1 to 5 builds?
I'm not sure I understand what you're asking.
Okay, so you've built somewhere between 1 and 5 homes in the city of Dallas, correct?
Yes.
And you try to be there on site each time a city of Dallas inspector comes to inspect your property, correct?
Yes.
And how many times has that occurred in your experience?
I don't recall.
Well, more than 5, less than 5?
Well, my experience with the city of Dallas in building inspection department is not limited to just new construction. I've also done hundreds of remodels in the city of Dallas, and the permit process is much the same as is the inspection process. So I don't know how many times it could be that I've met the inspector. It could be 30, it could be 100.
During your renovation projects that you're speaking of, are you also required in the city of Dallas to have your approved plans on site at all times?
Yes.
Okay, so let's just group all of those together then so you don't have to differentiate between a new build and a remodel. How many times approximately have you been on site when the city of Dallas has come out to do an inspection on one property that you're working on?
As I said earlier, I don't know for sure how many. It could be 30, could be 50, could be 100. I don't remember.
Do you think it's at least 30?
Yes.
Okay, so there have been, to your recollection, probably 30 times where you've been on site with a home where you're doing the construction or a remodel and the city of Dallas comes out to inspect. Am I understanding you accurately?
Yes.
And each of those times when the city comes out, do they not look at your plans?
No.
Okay, what percentage of the time when the city comes out do they review your plans?
Most of the time they don't look at the plans.
What percentage would you say?
90 to 95%.
So it's your testimony under oath that 90 to 95% of the time the city of Dallas does not look at your building plans on site.
That's right.
Okay. You don't disagree that this particular house on Maple Springs passed all the building inspections, do you?
Yes.
You dispute that?
Yes.
Well, okay, let's go to the final ones. Let's pull up Exhibit 104. I believe. Give me just 1 second. Is 104 up on your screen? It may not be yet. Do you see exhibit 104?
I do not.
Okay, give me 1 second. Okay, do you see what exhibit 104 now?
Yes.
Okay. You'll agree with me, it shows that there was an electrical inspection done
Yes.
on April 24th, 2017,
Yes.
and then it was given a green tag.
Yes.
And then there was an electrical inspection done on January 13th, 2017, and it was given a green tag.
Just a minute. Yes.
Okay. And there was another electrical inspection on May 21st, 2018, in which there was a green tag.
Yes.
Another electrical inspection on May 18th, there was a red tag for some faulty breakers.
That's not what it says. It says they want them to install arc fault breakers. That's a type of breaker. It's a type of safety breaker, and they want it in the proper locations.
Okay, and that occurred on May 18th, 2018?
Yes.
Okay, do you know if that was before or after your clients moved in?
I do not know.
Okay, let's talk about the mechanical inspections. You agree that there was a red tag on June 8th, 2017, right?
Yes.
And there was a red tag on June 15th, 2017.
Yes.
And then it got a green tag on April 7th, 2017, correct?
Just a minute. That was for the rough end below the floor level.
Right. And then there was another plumbing inspection on June 16th, 2017, right?
Yes.
And it got a green tag, right?
That was for the top out.
Then there was another plumbing inspection on June 16th, 2017, where there was a green tag, right?
Yes, for the sewer line.
Then there was another plumbing inspection on November 30th, 2017 with a green tag, right?
Yes, another for the sewer or gas.
Another green tag on May 21st, 2018 for plumbing, right?
Yes, for sewer relocation.
Then there was another green tag on plumbing on for a building inspection, on June 28th, 2017, right?
That was for the framing, yes.
And there was a building inspection with a red tag on June 21st, 2017, right?
Yes.
Then it was a yellow tag on April 25th, 2017, right?
Yes.
You agree with me that all of those inspections occurred, true?
That they occurred?
Yes.
That's what it says.
And you're not saying in any way that at any point in time when these inspections were occurring, that my client's permit was revoked, are you?
I don't recall when the permit was revoked.
Well, if I told you that the permit wasn't revoked until 2019, would you disagree with me?
I don't know.
Okay, let's look at it. Doesn't this look like the revocation occurred on January 17th, 2019?
Could be.
Well, you've looked at permits before, Mr. Hart. You know what this says. You disagree that the permit was revoked on January 17th, 2019.
That's not what it says.
Well, what does it say?
It says it was completed on January 17th, but it doesn't say it was revoked on that date. And that's what I was responding to, is it says the status is revoked, but it doesn't say that it was revoked on January 17th. It may have been, but I don't know that.
Isn't that what date completed on these permits with the city of Dallas mean?
I don't know.
That's the day the revocation was complete. Mr. Hart, how many permits have you looked at with the city of Dallas if you have built and constructed and rehabbed all of these homes that you've testified to?
I haven't had any of them revoked.
Okay, so you've never seen a revocation before?
Not on my job.
Okay. Mr. Hart, if you are saying that nothing that was done at the house on Maple Springs is according to plans, then why in the world was the city of Dallas approving every single of these inspections that we just looked at?
That's a very good question.
Mr. Hart, don't you find it hard to believe that our hardworking people of the city of Dallas, if this house was that far off, that they would have approved every one of these inspections?
I think what you're asking me is a hypothetical question, is that do I believe that the city staff is capable of making a perfect inspection and not missing anything? The answer to that is no, because I inspect houses all the time that have major defects that have been overlooked by the inspectors. In this case, there was a whole bunch of them that should have been caught by inspectors all the way through. Why they didn't catch them, I don't know, but they should have.
You're telling this court that every single one of these inspectors came in, pulled up to the house, did an inspection, and somehow missed it on every single one of these inspections?
I'm saying that all of the items that I listed in my report that have the code beside them and arrows pointing to the picture are code violations that the inspectors missed.
Mr. Hart, I don't mean this to come across as disrespectful at all, but I'm just curious, are you really that much smarter than every single city of Dallas inspector that came out and signed off on this property?
Objection, argumentative.
Yeah, I'll sustain that it's argumentative.
Mr. Scott, it's your testimony that you caught every single one of these things, but every single city of Dallas inspector somehow missed it. Am I understanding you correctly?
So I think you meant Mr. Hart. You said Mr. Scott, as I heard you.
You can answer if you understood what I meant, Mr. Hart.
Would you mind asking again, please?
Sure. Is it your testimony that somehow you caught every single one of these errors and the fine people at the city of Dallas missed every single one of them on every single inspection?
I don't know that the city of Dallas missed on every single inspection, but I do know that it's not unusual for a city inspector to have 20 inspections to make in a day. And I've spent more than 10 inspections on this property, and I've spent a lot more time. Do I think I'm smarter than all of the inspectors? No, but I spent a lot more time and I had a better look and a longer look than what they were allowed to with their schedule.
Okay. Mr. Hart, you don't disagree, do you, that the first time that any permit was revoked on this property is after the date these Zitouns moved into it, do you?
I don't recall the date the permit was revoked, and I don't recall the date they moved in.
Mr. Hart, when you say, or when you testify that you haven't reviewed a geotechnical report, that doesn't mean one doesn't exist, does it?
No, I just said one was not provided to.
It just means that the Zitouns or their lawyers didn't give you one, right?
That's correct.
And when you testify that you haven't reviewed a soil report, that doesn't mean one doesn't exist, does it?
It does not.
Just means none was provided to you, right?
That's right.
And when you said you haven't reviewed any engineering plans, that doesn't mean they don't exist, right?
I don't know if any engineering plans do exist. I know that what I saw in the pictures and what I saw on site does not comply with standard engineering activities and standard engineering plans.
Mr. Hart, you don't know one way or another if there were engineering plans done on this property, do you?
I do not.
You just know that no one gave them to you. True?
That's true.
You complain, Mr. Hart, about the house being at a lower elevation than the street. Did I hear you correctly?
Yes.
Mr. Hart, have you ever seen a house built in a valley?
I have.
It's possible, isn't it?
I've seen a lot of bad decisions made on house locations.
And houses that are built in valleys, which happen all the time, they just have proper drainage, right?
They have what?
Proper drainage.
Not necessarily.
Well, certainly there could be improper drainage, but a home that's not experiencing water intrusion, that's built in a valley, presumably has proper drainage, right?
I would not presume that.
Well, just because a house is in a lower elevation than the street by itself doesn't mean that it's a defective house, right?
I would have to look at it to see.
Exactly. There could be proper drainage on a house that's a lower elevation than the street, true?
Not likely, but it is possible.
You'll agree with me that one of the largest problems with this property, in your opinion, is water intrusion, right?
Yes,
And if a house has poor grading and poor drainage, it's not going to surprise you if that home quickly experiences water intrusion, right?
that's right.
And when water intrusion occurs and the source of that water intrusion is not corrected, isn't it true that that home can go from bad to worse very quickly?
Yes,
Because water intrusion has to be stopped in order for the problem not to get worse, right?
yes,
You didn't see this home the very first time water intrusion occurred, did you?
no,
But since you've been out of the property the 10 times, isn't it true that the home has gotten worse and worse each time you've seen it?
yes,
And isn't that what happens when water intrusion is not remedied?
yes,
Mr. Hart, you'll agree with me that it's critical to mitigate water damage in order for it not to get worse, true?
yes.
The first time you saw this house was in April of 2019, is that right?
I don't remember.
That's what your report says. Would you disagree with that?
No,
And at that time, it would have been possible to achieve proper drainage around the house, even with the current elevation in relation to the height of the street, true?
that's possible that you could eliminate the flooding if you tore out the driveway and put in the drainage system all the way around the house.
So as of April 2019, which according to your clients is, I guess, about 6 months after the first time they experienced water intrusion, it's your testimony that it would have been possible to have proper drainage had it been addressed at that time, correct?
Theoretically, yes, it is possible.
We could have fixed it then and we would have much less of a problem than we have now, right?
Yes,
It would have been much less expensive than this 580 some odd thousand or whatever the number is that you're saying it would cost to fix the home now, right?
not necessarily. It would be some less, but maybe not significantly less.
Well, you just testified that water intrusion, when not remedied, gets worse and worse over time, and that this house, during the 10 times you've seen it, has gotten worse and worse each time, correct?
Yes,
So had we stopped the problem back in April 2019, it would have been much less of a problem than we have now, right?
for the drainage portion of it, but the other construction defects haven't changed since that time.
Mr. Hart, you'll agree with me that the improper driveway slope is what caused the water intrusion into the garage, correct?
That's part of it.
You don't know who developed the driveway plan, do you?
No, I don't.
You'll agree with me that whoever developed the driveway plan would be the one to blame for this improper slope, right?
No, you can't attribute it all to the driveway plan because the house is too low. If the house were built 3 feet higher, you wouldn't have any driveway plan problem.
You testified just a moment ago that even at the current elevation, proper drainage back when it was built could have caused there not to be water intrusion, correct?
Possibly, yes,
Okay.
from the driveway.
From
But
the
that doesn't stop it from coming in around the fireplace, under the front door, in the front flower bed, through the cracks in the stucco, through the fireplace. So you have all of those other places that it's still coming in.
And that's coming in from the driveway?
You didn't listen to what I said.
Okay, well, help me understand. I misunderstood then.
I said the driveway is one of the features and places that it's coming in. But if the house were raised 3 feet, you wouldn't have it coming in the driveway. But despite the fact that it's at the location that it is, the driveway is not the only place the water's coming in. It's coming in underneath the front door where the hardwood floor was extended to the front porch and the door set on top of it. It's coming in on the side of the garage where the water gets deep enough to come in underneath the bottom plate. It's coming in into the library where water gets deeper than the bottom plate of the wall. When it's trapped where the sidewalk is against the house, it's coming in through the top of the fireplace where no roofing was put on and no flashing was put on. It's coming in through the cracks in the stucco and maybe some other places, I don't know, but that's not just the driveway that's coming in.
Okay, we'll move to the drainage next, but focusing on the driveway just for a moment, you agree with me that the driveway is improper, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Would it surprise you if it was your client, Mr. Zitoun, that designed the driveway?
I don't know if he designed the driveway, but the more important question is who decided where to put the house? Because if the house had been raised up, the driveway is not an issue.
Mr. Hart, my only question was, would it surprise you if Mr. Zitoun and his wife designed the driveway?
Yes, it would.
You agree with me that there's a problem with the drainage system at the house, correct?
I didn't see any drainage system at the house. So yes, there's a problem that there is no drainage system.
And would it surprise you if it was the Zitouns that were responsible for there not being a drainage system put in?
Objection, relevance, on whether or not he'd be surprised by that.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the right, I know what you're getting at, but maybe rephrase it. Let me know when you're at a good stopping point, because I'd like to take an afternoon break soon.
This is fine, Your Honor.
Okay. Let's go ahead and take our afternoon break. Ms. Kreider, how much time does each side have left?
Mr. Eccles and Mr. Scott have 5 hours, 47 minutes remaining. Miss Pettit Greason, that was 27 minutes for Cross. So I would say about 6 hours. And
About 6.5 hours.
yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll be back and let's shoot for